In this Nioh 2 build guide, I'm going to be covering the Raging Tiger build, which is an axe build that uses heavy armor and pounds things to a pulp in 1 or 2 swings. I'll be covering the stats and skills, etc., Guardian Spirits. This is a starter mid-game build, it's not an end-game build, and I will likely be updating it once I get to end-game. The Raging Tiger uses the combination of buffs and strong attacks to destroy enemies in like 1 or 2 attacks. Additionally, because you're wearing heavy armor with this build, it makes it difficult for you to be staggered, so you can follow through with these long, big hits and not have to worry about being interrupted. And since you have really high damage, you're going to have some life leech on your weapon, and with some of your passives, you're going to steal back a lot of health, so even if you get clipped when you swing, you're going to heal yourself. So the way this build works is when combat's going to begin, right before combat, you're going to buff with Rage. This is a R1 and circle on the controller once you unlock it. And then you're going to run into enemies and start using strong attack on them from high stance. This is going to be a 2-hit combo that usually kills humans outright in 1 combo, or at the very least, staggers them and then you finish them off with a final blow afterward, or on some, hard to kill yokai or, harder yokai. It's going to rip off a huge amount of ki. Maybe you hit them with the second combo and then drain them of ki, at which point you just finish them off with combos repeatedly. It's an extremely straightforward build that works effectively because you gain health from the Obsidian Armor set and your Guardian Spirit bonus, and ideally if you have life gain on your weapon, then you're gaining it from all of these 3 things. So you're gonna, even if you take like 300 damage or whatever, usually you heal that back up in 1 combo or 2 combos. This allows you to just run from enemy to enemy, just keep swinging and, not really worry about how much health you have. The stats needed for the Raging Tiger build are quite simple. You need stamina, courage, and strength, and a tiny bit of constitution for health. You don't even have to put points into constitution if you want, but I just did here because why not? There's really no any other need for any other stats for this build, and the priority is with stamina. You're going to want to put points into your stamina in order to get your equipment load below 70%, 70% or lower as quickly as possible, with the exception being that you need to place some points into strength to make the, meet the requirements for your armor. But once that's done, you're going to keep pumping stamina. Once you've hit the 70% equip load, you're going to start putting points into courage because this increases your damage with the weapon, but also gives you ki recovery. This is a very ki-hungry build. You usually drain all your ki in 1 combo or 2 combos, and you need to get it back quickly, so courage is going to help with this. So at this point, after you hit that 70% mark, you're going to start putting a point or 2 here and there in courage as you keep increasing stamina. Strength is only really needed in order to meet armor requirements. You're going to be putting a couple points in this as you level up because the armor sets are going to have higher and higher requirements, but otherwise you don't really need to pump much into it. Early on, there's no real axe-specific set, so you're going to want to use an axe that has, it's probably like a yokai axe, or one that has imbued lightning on it. If you find one, that would be lucky. But if not, you can try and temper one in order to get those bonuses. But when you get the Samurai from the Dark Land set, you're going to be using Gozu Tenno's axe, and after this set, you're going to switch to Kintaro's axe, which is part of the Kintaro set. Besides that, you want axes that use imbue lightning ideally, which Kintaro will come with by default, but I suggest uploading your save to the PSN cloud and then tempering your axe until you get this bonus, or re-downloading it if you spent way too much gold doing this, or you didn't get one. You'll also want life drain on high attack or strong attack to help heal you when you do this combo, and strong attack or high attack damage to boost the damage these hits do. You don't really want to worry about ki consumption for this build. Your combo is going to drain most of your ki anyway. Reducing that by 5% isn't going to do shit for you, so just focus on damage primarily. For ranged weapons, it doesn't really matter what you use, and you'll likely have mediocre damage here because of the way we distribute our stats. A hand cannon makes some sense because we have a bit of strength, and rifles make a little bit of sense because you have a bit of courage, but otherwise you can use whatever you want because your damage is going to be pretty minimal with either of them. When it comes to armor early on in the game, you're going to be using the Golden Boy set because it's heavy armor and it gives you increased lightning damage and damage versus electrocuted enemies. But once you face the Obsidian Samurai in a formal match submission in Region 3, you can farm the Samurai from Dark Land set, which is what you're going to be using for about 50 levels or so of the game. This set's going to give you a bonus to Rage Duration, melee damage, life drain on lightning attack, and attack bonus based on stamina, which will have tons of stamina, so that's great. These are all very good. You're going to use this until around level 100 or so, maybe a little bit higher than that, until you get the Kintaro set. This set gives you battle focus duration, which is okay, increased attack and defense with an axe, and plus 15% strong attack damage. Since all we're doing basically is strong attacks, that's a perfect bonus for us. Bonuses you want on armor is anything that reduces the damage you take, so defense, resistances, etc. The reason for this is that you want to out-heal the damage you take, so you want to mitigate as much as you possibly can. If you crank up the defense, then you take little damage, and when you do your combo, you heal back the damage you take, then you don't really have to worry about getting hit. I've mentioned this in pretty much all my builds, but accessories are a bit of a mixed bag. You always get weird bonuses. You never get like a perfect accessory. Things you want to look for specifically for this build are anima gain in order to use your yokai abilities more frequently. And you want to pay a close attention to defense. It's a little thing for these. You do get defense from them, but again, this build is very defense focused. The more damage you can mitigate, the less you need to heal. So that's perfect for this build. So try and find an item that has good bonuses, but also you want to look at a defense stat for this. When it comes to samurai skills for this build, we're going to be using high stance primarily, so you're going to want Ki Pulse Heaven and Running Water Heaven for sure. And also Purify Yokai Realm Heaven, which is good. That's going to increase your damage if you perfectly time a Ki Pulse, which you should be doing. And you can never have enough damage with this build, so that's just going to give you more. Other points in this skill tree should be placed into things that boost range damage, since that's going to be a weak spot of this build, or increase your health. When it comes to axe skills for this build, it's kind of a strange build because you really don't need any active skills besides Rage, which is on the left-hand side of the tree. This is going to boost your damage in exchange for Ki. You're already using tons of Ki anyway, so that's not a big deal. But I really like the passives in the axe skill tree. Cornered Tiger and Cornered Boar are both good for increasing your damage and reducing the damage you take when your health's below 30%. This means, if you keep swinging away with our Haka, axe strategy, and your health is going down, you're going to be harder to kill, and you're going to hit harder, healing you more, so that should get you back up higher health quicker. Other passives I like are Kintaro Kata and Full Moon Kata. These are good for just boosting damage in general, and you should get them when you can. When it comes to Shiftling skills, you want the Yokai Within and Dark Within to help with Ki recovery when fighting Yokai and in the Dark Realm, and Special Finesse Invigorate and Special Finesse Refresh, which help with Ki recovery when you use a burst counter, which should be quite frequently. When it comes to Omnio skills, there are a couple talismans that work well for this build. Lightning Talisman, obviously we heal from lightning when we have the Samurai of the Darklands set, so adding more lightning damage is going to increase healing. And the Barrier Talisman, which can be used to increase your Ki recovery speed. Again, this is a very Ki-hungry build, so that's a good way to, get some of that Ki back quickly. For this build, you're going to want a Brute Guardian type. I normally recommend the Feral Guardian type for most builds, but you want a Brute Guardian for this build, and there are a couple reasons for that. The first reason is because you're normally in melee range with this build. You should be in melee range at all times, very close to the enemy. And the burst counter from the Brute Guardian type allows you to interrupt any burst attack. It doesn't matter whether it hits you or not, you're going to be able to punish them. Just, you see burst counter, receive a burst attack, just hit burst counter immediately. The Feral Guardian, you actually have to wait for it to hit you in order to time it correctly. And since some of these attacks don't actually hit you, it's not as useful point blank range. And that you have to wait for the timing to do it if it's point blank. Maybe it has a long windup before the attack. The Brute Guardian, you don't have to wait for anything. You just see it, boom, hit it. Additionally, a lot of the soul cores we use for this build are the Brute type, meaning they're going to do more damage. They're going to perform better when using them with a Guardian Spirit that's the same type. And since all of ours are Brute, that makes the most sense. So at the beginning, I suggest using the Mikami Guardian Spirit. Its passives are not amazing, but it does boost final blow damage. And if you place 1 or 2 points into Dexterity and Magic, then you can gain increased Yokai ability damage, which is also nice. But you're going to want to switch this out a little bit later in the game. After that, you want to switch to Shinroku for the life drain on strong attacks, lightning damage, anima bonus against electrocuted enemies. You won't be able to get the 4th bonus because you won't meet the requirements, just stat-wise it doesn't line up. But this is going to give you a lot more life gain on strong attack, which is a huge part of this build. And what's great about it is that if you put it as your secondary Guardian Spirit, you'll still get half the amount on strong attacks, which is not, a little bit. Atlas Bear is another great Guardian Spirit for this build, the one that I recommend actually, and it allows for doing increased damage when your Ki is low, which should be all the time. Faster winded recovery. You tend to wind yourself very often with this build because you're just using your Ki as fast as you get it, and it gives you increased melee damage, which you can never have enough of, and healing when you grapple, so you can heal besides, doing your 2-hit combo, you can get some healing from grappling periodically, which is great. And what's even better, again, is Shinroku's ability. The healing on strong attack you can get from secondary, so you can get the benefits of basically both of these Guardian Spirits that you really want, and have them both equipped. When it comes to soul cores for this build, I really like the One-Eyed Oni and the Onyudo soul cores. These both are Brute types, and they deal substantial damage. Their bonuses are not the most amazing for this, though they do kind of fit the theme, but they do help apply electrocuted status if you have lightning on your weapon, and they give you something to do while your Ki is recovering. Maybe you're winded and the enemy's weak and you can finish it off, pop your Yokai ability and finish it off while your Ki recovers. When it comes to clans for this build, there are 2 that I like, and those are Sataka and Todo. Sataka increases your strong attack damage when in high stance, which is perfect because that's what we're using all the time, and it heals you and allies when you kill an enemy in melee. So extra healing from this one and healing friendlies, so when you co-op, that's good. Toto increases your life based on how much stamina you have, which we have a ton, so that's going to boost your health a bit. And it's going to give you damage based on your weight, and since we're heavy, that's going to be a decent bump in damage. Some final tips for this build. It's an extremely offensive build, and you can charge into packs of enemies without worrying too much about dying. But don't forget to block. You can block very effectively with this build because you're using heavy armor. So there are scenarios where you can't just run in and start attacking instantly and kill something, and you need to wait for openings. Be sure to block when you have to. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to get lightning on your weapon, then you can keep tempering at the blacksmith until you get it. Changing one bonus will change the potential pools for every bonus on the weapon. So temper one and then check all of the bonuses you have to see if lightning can be imbued on some of them. It may be worth replacing a good bonus you already have with imbue lightning because it's so rare, and then trying to get that other one back. For instance, maybe you replace high attack with imbue lightning. Well, then maybe, whatever your other one is, then you try and get that high attack back on it because it's more common. And make sure you use the PSN Cloud before trying this, because you might want to reload because you blew all your gold trying to get it and you didn't. It's a good way so you can just reload and try again. Remember to key pulse every time you do the 2-hit combo because you will use a ton of key and you'll want it back. If you don't key pulse between combos, you'll be virtually ineffective with this build, so it's a must. And even if you gain 2 key back, do it. You only need 1 key to perform this combo, so even key pulsing for that 1 key can help you get off another attack and stagger or kill your enemy. Lastly, the tracking on the second hit of the 2-hit combo is insanely broken, in a good way. It literally follows the target wherever it goes, so you don't have to worry about this at all. For instance, if you attack an enemy and they dash through you or do some crazy move and they end up behind you, the second swing will literally turn you around and connect with them. Keep this in mind so you don't have to worry about positioning, and just have faith in your second hit of your combo. Even if your first misses, your second one is always going to connect no matter what they do. Stay tuned for more Nioh 2 guides, including builds and weapon guides, and be sure to check out our review for our thoughts on the game. We're going to be doing a Soul Cores guide next that's going to cover, how Soul Cores work, some in and outs of them, things you may not necessarily know. And don't be afraid to head over to the Nioh 2 wiki and check it out if you need more help with the game.